them Ms. Shalin Maria Lawrence, Kathir Vincent Raj, Abirami Jotheeswaran, Suresh and Manisha Gupte. So before I leave the floor, I'm not taking too much of anybody's time, but before I leave the floor to the speakers, I just want to introduce Tolar Shalin Maria Lawrence, who is going to moderate the session today. Shalin Maria Lawrence is a social activist, intersectional feminist, writer and orator. Belonging to the oppressed community, she has been working towards empowering the Dalit women, LGBTQ plus community since 2012. She worked with the Transgenders Rights Organization and won the Day of Compassion Award from Jane Goodall Foundation. She has been working with Dalit communities of North Chennai, especially Vyasarpadi region, and also Dharavi of Mumbai. And she helped in setting up libraries for this community and conducting awareness programs on child rights and women rights. And women leadership also. She has been conducting training for Dalit women on women rights and women leadership among the rural Dalit women of Chennai and Madurai as well. And as we all know, she's a writer in English and Tamil. And one of her books won Sunday Karigal, one award from Tamil Nadu Murpokku Kalai Ilakkiya Mede. I think she is receiving the award tomorrow, if I'm not wrong. Over to Shalin. Yeah, floor is yours. Thank you.
I'm so embarrassed. Thanks, Tolar. The bio reading is very kind of nervous. Okay. Welcome to everyone, and hope I'm audible to all of you. And welcome to Prajnya's 16-day campaign against violence on women. So today we will be discussing on the draft bill on the prevention of honor crimes. So prevention of crimes in the name of honor. So I kind of get confused with the title all the time. I think it's time we have to by heart the title of the bill because it's very important. The title of the bill tells so much about what is in the bill in the first place. So that is more important. And the bill was drafted and introduced by the organization Evidence from Madurai. Kathir was spearheading, the drafting of the bill. He took the consultation of writers, journalists, politicians from marginalized caste communities, and activists, a lot of intersection feminists, and also from the LGBTQ community. So he took consultation from people after he drafted the bill. He made amendments and he actually prepared the bill, and he also went ahead and submitted the bill to the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Stalin, in the month of September. And I think in the month of October that happened. And Mr. Stalin did receive the bill. And I think we also had a consultation, a national level consultation in Delhi, along with the UN, Dalit human rights activists. So that happened in Delhi in the month of October. And we all discussed on the pros and cons on the bill and the changes or the amendments that should be made further to the bill. So that happened. That was a very fruitful consultation session in Delhi. So that is where we had representatives from all over India who gave their opinions on the bill, on depending on the localities, the pain points and problems of the localities. So they gave feedback, and the bill was again amended. And I think Kathir has done a tremendous work for that. And today I would request, I think it's important because a lot of people do not know the importance of why we need this bill in the first place. They say like IPC is there is SC/ST Act or whatever it is. Why do we actually need a separate law or a separate special law to curb honor killings? So that is very important. So this has to be a national level bill. It's a very important bill, as I feel. I have been interacting with Kathir from 2016, and I know that he has been talking about or working about the bill even before that. So it was his brainchild to bring a bill on this. Tamil Nadu may look a bit progressive. It actually, there's a big propaganda about Tamil Nadu, about how progressive Tamil Nadu has been, a Periyar's land, as we always call it. Uh, um, but as a person from the marginalized community, Dalit community, Tamil Nadu has been a welfare state more than a progressive state when it comes to caste. And for example, I talk with data because it's all data game right now. So we have the social indicators, we have the economic indicators of Tamil Nadu. So honor killings are in a rise in Tamil Nadu. In the last 5 years, we've seen more than 25 honor killings, and Kathir has been working, and various human rights organizations have been working on the honor killings which is happening in Tamil Nadu. We have seen Kausalya and Shankar's attack. We saw Shankar, a Dalit boy, being killed. We saw that with our eyes because it was recorded through a CCTV camera. It happened in broad daylight, and he was killed on the spot. And that was a turning point for the whole state to take cognizance of such things that are happening because they want to see it. They didn't want to feel it, they wanted to see it happening, and that, I think, that was a very important case. And we have Gogol Raj's murder, we have Ilavarasant's suicide or murder. We have no idea about it, but it's a death of a Dalit boy who was in love with his was ardently in love with his partner. And we've seen cases of Muthu from Payani, and so a lot of cases Kathir has been working. And when we speak about honor killings in UP and interfaith, honor killings in UP, in Madhya Pradesh, or the northern parts of the Hindi belt of India, the nation does not know the amount of honor crimes which happens in Tamil Nadu. For example, the intercaste marriage percentage is only 1% or even less than 1% in Tamil Nadu. If you call yourself Periyar land, you can call yourself a very progressive state. Why is the intercaste percentage very, very less? So the amount of the percentage of intercaste marriages is very less. Is directly proportional to the violence happening on the intercaste couples. That is very important. So let's see how Kathir would put forth a bill, and he would explain to everybody on why the bill is very important and how should we take it further. So I would introduce Kathir right now to speak, and I would introduce him. Kathir actually needs no introduction, but still, Mr. Kathir, alias Vincent Raj, has been working in the field of human rights for over 25 years. A Dalit himself is witnessing and experiencing caste-based discrimination from his childhood triggered his determination to fight against the caste system and caste-based atrocities against Dalits. From an initial career as a writer on the experiences of the socially marginalized, he later shifted to rights-based interventions, especially human rights monitoring and legal and advocacy interventions. This work experience and a commitment to Dalit rights eventually led him to initiate an independent organization, Evidence, in 2005, to fight against caste discrimination for social justice and equality. To add more on this, I would like to point out that Kathir received the Raoul Wallenberg Prize. Last year, it was given by the European Union for human rights activists who are saving lives across the globe. So they have mentioned that Kathir has eventually saved around 25,000 lives. So it's very prestigious to be even being acquaintance with Kathir or to work with Kathir. So I would ask Kathir to go ahead and speak on the bill. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
இருக்கு
ஸ்வர்ணா மேம் ஏதோ ஹேண்ட் காட்டிட்டாங்க.
I'm clapping.
Okay, clapping, no? Okay. Hello, everyone. Pleasure to meet you all through this online meeting. A warm thank you to Prajnya organization for the wonderful opportunity. We are proud and privileged to introduce the honor killing draft bill, the freedom of marriage and association and the propagation of Crimes in the Name of Honor Bill 2022. The bill was made by Dalit Human Rights Defender Network, the national level network. The network, 100 organization, including 1,000 human rights defender also. And evidence played a huge and significant role in the drafting this honor killing bill. Further, a campaign, honor killing, was led by evidence organization. Dalit Human Rights Defender Network has given to the draft to CLPR in Bangalore-based organization to make it a manual bill, and the CLPR was drafted in randomly. The campaign has held in 3 states, which is Tamil Nadu, Madurai, and Rajasthan, and Delhi also. Now, in future, we will plan actually in 7 to 8 states this month, maybe. Orissa and Madhya Pradesh, UP, Maharashtra. So we will plan in future. Honor crimes are taking place all over India. Honor killing, honor torture, honor humiliation, mob violence for the sake of arrogance, honor suicide, etc. are taking place here. I would like to begin by thinking loudly and raising question about using the term honor. We call honor crimes as honor crimes because they are committed with an aim to protecting the honor of the family. In a society like ours, honor of an average Indian family is located in a woman's body. I think it is a time of shake this regressive idea from its roots and rather call it dishonorable. What is the honorable about killing your own daughter for a choice she makes? It is dishonorable. In Tamil evidence, the organization that I today represent has successfully changed this terminology. We no longer call honor crimes at Gaurav Kutrangal. Gauravam is Tamil is the equivalent of honor. Today, media and civil society groups in Tamil, honor crimes as a Anava Kutrangal are crimes motivated by caste, arrogance. Maybe we can find a better word that conveys his idea, but I think we need to change the narrative and perception around honor crimes. This bill actually, the 17-page draft bill titled the Honor, Freedom of Marriage and Association and Prohibition of Crimes in the Name of Honor Act 2022. The bill seeks to provide justice, compensation and rehabilitations in crimes committed in the name of honor, which revise caste, faith, age, gender, sexual orientation, language, class, race, status, and tradition also. As the name suggestion, the bill first and foremost seeks to offer protection against victimization in the name of honor. In the instance of such a crime, the bill outlines the extent to punishment to be given to the perpetrators and to the compensation and the rehabilitation for survivors. It also detailed the protective measures to be implemented, besides listing down various types of victimization apart from murder, such as social and economic boycotts. Here's what a bill drafted by the organization suggested. The bill emphasizes the rights of adults to choose partners without the consent of their families, caste, tribes, religious communities or clans. It's also seek to extend protection not only to those choosing the enter the marriage, but also to any person seeking a simply be a relationship. Sometimes the first draft only in 18 years, now it's changed. It's not no age bar. Either a district magistrate or nodal officer may receive an oral or written statement from the couple that they intend to be together, which the nearest police station is required to be notified about. The police are not to take action against the couple at the instance of any other parties, including family members, relatives, or religious community members. The bill specifically notes the protection must also be extended to couples who may be harassed on the basis of gender and sexual identities. The bill provides an extensive set of examples that can be considered a criminal victimizations in the name of dishonor in a caste, religious, or any social norm. Some of them are, but not limited to, obstructions of forced eviction of the couples from their area of residence, abduction of one of the partners or anyone knows of them, and imposing a social or economical boycott on the couple or their family. The bill further covers possibilities of threats of physical harm, sexual violence, forced abortions, intimidation, causing psychological trauma through pressure to separate, seizing of important personal documents and items like laptops, phones, etc. The bill also carefully is noted that intimation can come through message or videos made viral of social media, which may be incite others into threatening couples or by causing disturbance such as persons of workplace. The first drafted only in the atrocities list on honor crimes, only 7 types of honor crimes, atrocities. Now, maybe I think 40 to 45 list of atrocities, including the bill. The state government must be considered with the High Court, designated district courts, and a fast track court to try offence outlined under the bill. The trial the bill suggests is to be concluded within the 3 months of filing the charge sheet. The same, I think, in SCT also, SCT Act also. Notwithstanding anything contained under the Code of Criminal Procedure, CRPC, all offence outlined in the bill are to be made non-bailable. The burden of proof of innocence is to be placed on the perpetrator. Those whom committed honor killing are to be punished with a rigorous imprisonment for life and fined a minimum rupees 10 lakhs. Attempt honor killing that result the causing disabilities to be a person is to be punished with an imprisonment of not less than 10 years and the fine of rupees 5 lakhs. Anyone who's attempted to consider to committed this offense or encourage or assist the of the victim shall also be punished as in their themselves as committed the offense. Further, a bill suggests to empower judges as fast track or magistrate court to pass on injunction against any party. Such an event caste panchayat, restraining them from carrying out acts of intimidation. If any person has prior knowledge that the crime in the name of honor is about to take place, they may file a complaint in such a court and the court is required to issue an injunction. The Metropolitan Magistrate or a special fast track court will be required to take suo motu cognizance on the basis of any reliable report that crime motivated by honor will take place. A state government must identify areas where honor killing or the assembly of caste panchayat have occurred in the last 5 years. In instance, the intercaste and interfaith relationships come to the notice. Directives are to be sent the police station inside identify area is abundant vigilance about trouble arising. A special cell of a police power prevent a crimes in the name of honor is to be considered in each district, and a dedicated 24 hours helpline is to be set up. The special cell must include the superintendent of police, district social welfare officer and a district Ayurveda welfare officer. Already in Tamil Nadu, see 2014 Madurai bench ordered in Tamil Nadu every districts formed in intercaste couple protection cell. But till now, I think in not formed and already in 2019, Chennai High Court Somoto in answering to government how many districts formed protection cell, but his government says in all 38 cells is formed, but the evidence sent to the RTI petitions, we find out only 3 districts only maintain the register. Otherwise, 35 districts not in the register, the maintenance. Intercaste couple protection register, I think. With regard to the investigation and the legal proceedings, once a caste goes to court, the state to provide protection to victims, dependents and witness, victim and dependents are entitled to be notified on time about bail applications by their perpetrator and to be held to all proceedings related to bail, parole, release, discharge or convictions. They shall also be entitled to travel and the maintenance expenses during the investigation and the trial period, besides social economic rehabilitation and relocation at this time. Compensation for victim and witness is to be given the form of immediate cash relief, medical aid, food, water, transport and shelter facilities by the state government. The state government is to ensure that such a relief measure are given without discrimination on the basis of caste, religion, gender identity or sexual orientation. Additionally, the state government is to coordinate with the union government to include victim of honor motivated crimes in the victim compensation fund. State government must also ensure that the safe house are set up each district for persons seeking protection against the crimes in the name of honor. Already in Satyavahini case, one of the recommendations. The safe houses must come under the supervisions of the respective SPs and the district magistrates. Those sheltering her must have access to their lawyers or any NGOs providing them support. If any police officer or administrative officer comes to know
you have got muted, Kathir ji.
Sorry. The DSP or SP is to immediately ensure that those attempting to assembly the caste panchayat are made aware it is illegality and it is necessary. Ensure that adequate police force is deployed to stop such a congregation. It's such as even the subdivisional magistrate or district magistrate must issue or order prohibiting the unlawful assembly of a caste panchayat. If a caste panchayat is constituted dispute these measures, the police must file on FIR under section 141 unlawful assembly, 143 punishment for unlawful assembly, 503 criminal intimidations, and 506 punishment for criminal intimidation of the Indian Penal Code. Those section also already in Satyavahini case, Supreme Court in order this section also. I am pointing out that not just caste but patriarchy too played a role in the killing in the name of honor. This draft bill is about gender justice too, a marriage, how to be women's choice. But already one of the yes, especially in Ladakh Singh versus UP, where it has been stated that the Hindu Marriage Act is not bar on intercaste marriage. Similarly, in the case of Vikesh Yadav versus UP and Asha Ranjan versus Bihar, all the powers to take the decision to get married and vested into the women. No one should interfere in their examination. It has been said that no one should question their self-respect. So, the number of women who die by suicide because they are not able to be within the partners of their choice is also distressingly high in the country. I think in Tamil Nadu, generally I'm talking about, every year 120 to 130 women murdered by husband. So the main reason is this murder also I think considered within honor crimes, honor killing, and the suicide. In 3,500 suicide in every year in Tamil Nadu, in 70% of suicide, honor, love affair suicide. The suicide are considered within honor suicide. So, but only we are talking about only caste-based honor killing only come out in the media. Otherwise, lot of patriarchy-based and other honor killing not discussed in the media is main critique. So, so this is a model bill. Maybe you already the bill sent to some lawyers and experts. Some good suggestion also included the bill. So now this bill is processing, not is final. Maybe you also, the participant, some of the participants maybe is a good suggestions included the bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathir, for the introduction of the bill. And I think what is the crucial or the crux of the bill is prevention, protection, and timely justice. That is the three major points of the bill, because first, the bill aims at freedom of choice of women or man to choose a life partner or choose a sexual partner, because we have discussed this. It's not just about marriages, it's freedom of association. So it can be a live-in partner, it can be a love affair, it can be a marriage or a sexual union. So this is something which we, or something which is asexual or not romantic, but they want to be associated. This is more important. And it also talks about, prevention of such crimes happening. So it will place the onus on the state to give protection to couples who sought the help or who have registered it or who are going through a union of interfaith or intersex or its intersexuality or something to do with caste or something against the family's honor or will. So it places the onus on the state to protect. It places it on the police and the commissions to protect them. That is one important aspect of it. And
Shalin, one more added. Sorry, one more added. See, in 2011, the National Law Commission come out the draft of the Prevention of Assembly Interference with Freedom of Matrimonial Alliance Bill to prevent honor crimes. In 2014, 22 states submitted a status report to the Supreme Court, starting the honor killing were taking place in their areas. Veerappa Moily, who was law minister in the Congress regime at the time, and Veerappa Moily, who was Pa Chidambaram, law minister, law minister Veerappa Moily and Home Minister Chidambaram, I think that time, was promised to bring a separate law at the earliest to eradication of honor crimes, but nothing happened here. In 2014, Madurai bench, and another 2008 in the Shakti Vagini cases and Supreme Court has issued 20 guidelines to state government for the protection of the intercaste couples. It is regrettable that not single state has followed these observations. Okay.
And Tamil Nadu is no different when it comes to honor killings. because most of the honor killings here are carried out by, there is a lot of caste involved, but they were caste and the Gounder community are the front runners of honor killings in Tamil Nadu, and they occupy the power centers in Tamil Nadu, be it ADMK or DMK. They run the show. Their vote bank runs the show. So if you go into detail on how they control the women of the caste, or how they execute the violence with the help of police or bureaucracy, or how they just escape from being convicted. It's a very big criminal story to be followed up. But again, so that is how things work. And unlawful assembly, as Kathir said, I think I would like to pinpoint on the Jadi Sangam in the first place. They play the caste associations. They play a major association in driving these honor killings or honor suicides. And nobody can deny the fact that they are behind giving protection. See, what it is reversed. They give protection, they give financial compensation, and they take care of the judicial whole procedure. If a person kills their daughter, or the person married to the criminal's family, this protection should be given to the victims, but the protection is given to the family which actually does the murder. So the caste association, the unlawful assembly, this is where things happen. And if you go to Congo Belt, you can see there's a lot of videos across Tamil Nadu. You can see people who are actually part of the alliance of DMK or ADMK, who are leaders of political parties, caste-based political parties, talking in family, in marriage functions. They're talking in marriage functions that, they talk about killing women. They're talking about, endogamy. They talk about they should kill their women if they get married to a Dalit boy. These kind of videos circulate. I think this law would help to punish those people who are even, involved in such acts, and it will curb the caste-based activities of the caste associations. So that is one important thing that I, concur from it. And it also talks about the protection, because that's what I say. Even last week, Tamil Nadu CM was telling that, intercaste couples will get a government job. But what is the use of government job if they're not going to be safe, if they're going to lose their lives within a couple of months? What is the use of a government job? What is the use of government compensation if they're not going to stay alive, or if they're going to be attacked, if there's going to be a social or socio-economic boycott on them? This happens in most of the cases. What is the use? So prevention, protection is more important than the kind of rewards you're going to give for intercaste couples. So that is one thing. So, and we also spoke about, I think the DGP, we spoke about how we are talking about adults above the age of 18 or 21, but people, they start dating from the age of 15 or 16. And that is the age where they are mostly killed or driven to suicide. A lot of mutual consent things, sexual or non-sexual communication union happens within young teens. And even Kathir dealt with a case 2 years back. 2 under 18 kids were killed. And so I think Tamil Nadu DGP has come up with something saying practice discretion when it comes to, if you get a case of POCSO. So check whether it's an actual POCSO or it's something else. It's been done on honor. So these kind of things can be checked through this bill. This bill is very potentially a very important bill. And I hope the Chief Minister also agrees and takes necessary action. So we'll go to the roundtable as far as now. And I hope all the participants have got the copies of the draft bill. They've gone through it. They listened to Kathir. So we'll have 3 people joining us today. So we have Ms. Abirami Jotheeswaran, and we'll have V. Suresh and Ms. Manisha Gupte. So all 3 will be on will speak right now. They'll take 15 minutes each on their opinion on the bill. So I will introduce Abirami Jotheeswaran. Ms. Abirami Jotheeswaran has been associated with National Campaign on Dalit Human Rights, New Delhi, since December 2005. Presently, she has been serving as the General Secretary of All India Dalit Mahila Adhikar Manch, New Delhi. She hails from the Dalit community very actively involved and committed towards the empowerment of Dalit community. She's a postgraduate in computer science from University of Madras. She's also currently pursuing her final year in law degree. Placing her in the organization, her primary responsibility is to plan, monitor, and execute programs related to promotion of Dalit women leadership and addressing violence against Dalit women and minor girls in 7 states across the country. At the international level, Abirami Jotheeswaran participated in World Social Forum 2007 held at Nairobi, and South Africa in 2007 to raise the Dalit concern in the forums. She raised a concern on the police atrocities committed against Dalit and Dalit women in the 18th EU NGO Human Rights Forum 2016 at Brussels. She's actively raised issues related to violence against Dalit women and the impunity subsists in India, the 41st UN HR Council at Geneva in 2019. Under her leadership, All India Dalit Mahila Adhikar Manch recently published a status report 2021, Dalit Women Rise for Justice, with the confidence that the report will be useful to the government while taking steps to improve Dalit women's condition in India through effective implementation of the existing acts and policies. So I would invite Abirami to speak on this bill for 15 minutes.
Thank you, Shalin. Thank you so much. And thank you, Prajnya. It's very important to organize this kind of webinars during this 16 days of activism and also to follow it up further. So it's a very important. I'm honored to be here. I was part of the member in this bill preparation during the consultation stage. So recently they had in Delhi last month. So I gave my feedback and other things. But apart from that, as a Dalit women organization and a women feminist person, I would like to give my overall perspective. Before going to the bill, I would like to say something and overall on Indian concept, how this honor killing has been affected by what are the people, who are they, like that. So as of now, you are all aware an adult woman in India doesn't have any liberty to choose her life partner. It can be a partner, marriage, or whatever the relationship, but she doesn't have any rights. Any male member in India cannot accept it. They don't have this kind of privilege for the women to select her partner. So it is a basic right to life. When we speak about the Article 21, which says right to life, it is really it is connected with, associated with the life. So choosing your partner for this kind of thing, she doesn't have a thing. Though we have been a progressed developing country and other things, but still the barriers is there. The patriarchy you can see very much. But again, coming to the patriarchy, I would also like to link this with the caste and gender hegemony. How does it impact? The overall, we all know who have been affected by the caste and gender, the intersectionality is the Dalit women. So when we see this as a Dalit women, they are at the bottom. So they don't have any right, any privilege, and if they are involved in any this kind of activity, then we have been seeing lots of murder, not only in Tamil Nadu, across the country we are able to see that. This I would like to say. And now the existing government has come with a lot of anti-conversions bill. This is also, we have to keep it in mind. When one side we are speaking about the promotion of women, Beti Bachao, Beti Padho, like that. But on the other side, when we are seeing there are anti-conversion bills saying that forced marriage, there is no definition for what is forced, what is willful, like that kind of thing. So we all have to keep these at the background, the anti-conversion bill, how it is affecting, prohibiting the women to choose her partner. And this has been misused with this anti-conversion. We are aware to mainly on the interfaith marriages, that was very much heavily coming. Mainly the minorities, Muslims, Christians, like that kind of thing, including Dalit. So these are the factors that we are facing today. And not only within the caste, the Kotra is also the factor. We have been noticed this in Haryana case where Manoj and Babli, they belong to the same Kotra of the same caste, and they have been murdered because they were asked to accept each one as their brother and sister. The couples were asked to be accepted as a brother and sister, which they denied. Therefore, they have been murdered. So these kind of, it's heavily coming. And as Kathir has mentioned, in 2018, the Shakti Vahini bill has, judgment has come. It has said it is a brutal violence against the couples, young couples who has the right to choose their partners. So it has been very vehemently seen. And in India, if you see the intercaste marriage, percentage is 5.8 as per 2011 census. So we have been speaking a lot. There are so many of progressive movements, political parties across the country. But when we see the intercaste marriage, it is 5.8% of the cases in India. And based on this, in 2019, Rajasthan government has come out with a state bill, state act, which speaks about the prevention of honor killing and other kind of things. But again, the same question, how much it has been utilized, how much it has been implemented. So there are cases, even if you see the cases in 2000, as per the National Crime Record Bureau, it has been, the cases has been registered from 2014. Before that, there is no segregated data of honor killing. After 2014, there has been cases, and if you say it is very minimal in registration. In 2009, it is just 24. In 2020, it is 25, and 2021, it is 33, which has been registered as a honor crime. So the reality, how many cases are reported? How many cases are, as Kathir was speaking, is a suicide case, it's a eloping case, and attempt to, so many cases was also made as attempt to rape, and it has been booked in a false charges, and finally it has been made into the things. So these are the situation. I would like to cite 1-2 examples of the recent cases in Bihar. In October, he was a 22-year-old youth. He was fell in love with an intercaste girl, interfaith, another religious faith girl. So the thing that they made him to lick the ground, it's a punishment for him to lick the ground, and they took the video of that and they circulated it. It's happened in Bihar. After this incident, we can see how much humiliated this person has taken into the account. After that, he is not at all, people doesn't know where he is. People doesn't know where he is. So this is the situation even today when they attempt to marry the intercaste or interfaith or the intercaste, whatever that. So these are, and even in the last month, November, there is 3 cases are reported in UP due to the intercaste marriage. The 4 brothers has murdered the couples. It happened in Bagpat district, and in Karnataka, this incident has happened. This kind of incident where a man drowned his daughter in a well in Ballari district. So this has happened in Karnataka, and in Rajasthan, mutilated of bodies of a Rajput girl married a tribal boy. So these are the serious cases, heinous forms. That too, whatever the murder that they are doing is also very, very cruel. So it has the intention that no one shouldn't do this kind of, again, shouldn't repeat this kind of intercaste marriage or interreligious marriage. The objective is very, 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 intention is very clear. So keeping this, it's very necessary to bring this kind of bill. We are with Kathir and this evidence for advocacy and other kind of thing at the national level. But I would like to give 2-3 suggestions. It is very good. It has been covered a lot of aspects, but I would like to give the suggestion for 2-3 things. One is the trauma, mental trauma. whatever the shelter home the women is accessing, or the protection houses there, the status of mind is very, very, very bad. We cannot imagine, they can't trust anybody. When the parents become the culprits, or the people who are chasing these youths, definitely then we can't believe anybody in this world. That is the situation. So at the trauma, mental trauma, how to handle, how to counseling the people, those aspects has to be taken care of this in this bill. And second, I would like to say, police inactions. In most of the cases, the police is not acting, they are taking bribe, and they are in support of the parents. They call the parents and tell the information that the couple has come to the police station or protection cell. So the police, when there is a negligence in the duty, there should be some punishment measures. If they are able to find out this, then definitely, as in SCST Act also, there is a section 4 for the willful negligence of the police officer. So that kind of things we have to be included in this. And I would also say the national authority, there should be a national authority to uphold, because there are lots of bills, lots of legislation in India. Whenever if any issues has been raised, the government will come out and say, no, we have this act, we have that act. This is how they respond and keep our things shut. But the thing is how they are accountable, whom they are accountable. If there is no implementation, there should be a national authority who are taking up the monitoring system for the better implementation of these kind of special legislation. So I would like to focus on these three things. And definitely, as Baba Saheb Ambedkar has said, intercaste marriage is one of the strategy to annihilate caste and system. See, we can't see caste as a separate identity and patriarchy as a separate, because they are interlinked. So in order to protect the women and get the real freedom, we have to address the caste. Without addressing caste, without addressing this, patriarchy cannot be taken out. So it is the thing I would like to say. It is one of the important steps. It's not only for women organization, it's only not for Dalit organization, it's for common for all. Because we know no women has a right to choose their partner. It can't be not only speaking for Dalit women. It can be a Brahmin woman. Even I know there are very violences that take place when there is a marriage, intercaste marriage, I don't know. Yeah, intercaste marriage, like Iyengar. So within that community also, so it doesn't say that it is that's what we have to speak. That's what we have to say. Annihilation of caste is freedom for all, not only for men. No, not only for women, but also for men. So keeping in a holistic manner, in order to promote justice, in order to promote social justice, definitely it is very important for us to bring this kind of legislation, and we are with them. Thank you. Thank you. Jai Bhim.
Jai Bhim, Mata. Thank you so much. And she was very precise. She covered the entire events across the country as she is working with every state. So that's very crucial to know what is happening across the country. And 3 points, very important points we said, mental health, because we're talking about Dalit atrocities, and right now we are talking about mental health, which is very important. And when you're offended by your own parents, when the criminal act is not by a stranger, but by your own parents, you go through so much of mental trauma, and your partner, you are in love, because these are crimes of passion, because this is where love is involved, feelings are involved. In that case, when you are humiliated, as you said, Dalit men being humiliated, it causes so much of social trauma. It's worse than murder. It's worse than murder. So these kind of things has to be taken care of. Mental health facilities or options, psychologists or therapists to guide them, to handhold them, and then right foot police action, because we know if the police is right, a lot of things will be right when it comes to Dalit atrocity. So that is there, and the national tribunal, she wanted an autonomous body to monitor the act, which is very, very important. Not like the National SCST Commission, but an autonomous body, impactful body is what she wanted. So thank you so much, Abirami, and I think we will move to Okay, the next speaker, Mr. V. Suresh, is a lawyer from Madras High Court. He's the National General Secretary, People's Union for Civil Liberties, and one of India's oldest and largest national level human rights organizations. Earlier served as Supreme Court appointed advisor on food security for Tamil Nadu, worked for 7 years as a full-time activist with the Shatakari Sangatana in Maharashtra amongst Varli Adivasi marginal farmers and agricultural laborers. Recently appeared in Kannagi Murugesan honor killing case for murdered Dalit Murugesan's family before the Madras High Court. On June 6, 2002, the Madras High Court confirmed the conviction of Kannagi's father, brother, and other relatives belonging to caste Hindu community involved with the killing. Through the HC commuted the death penalty for brother to life sentence, but finally justice was delivered, and Mr. Suresh was a big part of it, and we should thank him for that. Mr. Suresh, I invite you to share your suggestions and opinions on the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shalin. Thanks, Sudhar. Thanks, Swarna and Prajnya. After many years of not being able to attend a Prajnya meeting, I'm finally making up for it by coming in for this rather interesting meeting. So thanks all of you for calling me. That it is happening in the background of the case that had shaken up Tamil Nadu in 2003, the killing of Kannagi and Murugesan, and which justice was served finally in 2021, 18 years after. And then the appeal came up in the High Court, and it was confirmed in June this year. I will use that as a backdrop to talk and respond in terms of this draft bill that's been circulating. Okay. It's very important that we are having this discussion. I cannot help but notice something very important. This bill is as though it is only meant for people from the anti-caste movement or the Dalit movement, and only for women. If you see the number of participants, I'm sorry if I'm stepping on anybody's toes, but there are only 3 men out of 18 women whom I can see here, or non-men men whom I can see here. This precisely underscores the very important element of this issue that we are talking about. You know, how ultimately the role of culture and the role of patriarchy gets intertwined with social gender identities, and how that plays a very big role in terms of determining whether a person can live or not, or how they can live, or how they will have to survive. I think that is at the bottom of it, the whole issue underlying the larger issue of honor killing. I'll have to provide 2-3 caveats in the beginning. One is the fact that when looking at honor killing, Kathir very rightly said, and this is what I was open to, and what I also argued before the High Court. This is a very dishonorable act, given the name of honor killing. You know, the word honor sort of jars you when the fact that you're dealing with people who have been murdered, or ghastly crimes have been taking place. So there is something that we need to do in terms of rethinking the whole notion of honor versus dishonor, but that's a separate issue which I will not go into now. Second, when you're talking about honor, I think we should not limit ourselves to looking at it in terms of Dalit versus caste Hindu. Now, this is another issue I spoke about in the court. When you're talking about honor killing, generally in Tamil Nadu, as also in other parts of India, particularly southern states, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Kerala also, you're only talking about a Dalit boy going with or either eloping or marrying a non-Dalit or a caste Hindu girl. That's the time when the killing takes place. But a non-Dalit boy having a relationship with a Dalit girl doesn't end up in the same type of violence. This is where patriarchy intertwines with caste, it intertwines with larger social hierarchies. It's a factor to be kept in mind. Now, honor killings is only one smaller subset of honor crimes, which is what the Supreme Court said. And honor crimes can be found across a number of subsections. One, honor, as Abirami spoke about, we have to keep an all India perspective when we are thinking about this bill. For example, Gotra crimes. The whole Khap Panchayat things in North India is not only Dalit versus non-Dalit, it's also same caste. Okay. Now, in the same caste, you have Gotras, which are the same. You could have non-Gotra, but the issue of choice coming in terms of the marriage. So you have fundamental to the issue that we are talking about is the issue of choice. The choice exhibits itself in multiple ways. One in Gotra, other in terms of caste Hindu versus Dalit. Now, there are also killings that take place when a boy and a girl from different castes in the non-Dalit communities elope or get married. Even then, violence takes place. It may not be ghastly killings, but violence takes place. They are thrown out, they are divided, and PUCL units in North India, we are dealing with many of these issues. You also have issues of tribal versus caste, which is what Abirami talked about, okay, which is generally not talked about when you talk about honor killings. There are also similar type of crimes taking place between one tribe and another tribe. For example, I worked with a Varli tribe boy marrying a Kathir tribe girl in, say, north part of Tamil Nadu, of Gujarat, or Gond with the Varamo. Also, there is a lot of tension which comes up in these things. So, we need to keep a pan-India thing in mind, at the bottom of which I would like to propose are three things. Okay, two of them are already covered in the title of the bill that's been circulated. The third part is implicit in the whole bill, which is that choice. I think we need to first relook the title of the bill to read as freedom of choice, association, and marriage. Because marriage is only the ritualization of a relationship. There are many people, for example, in Gujarat, you have many experiences of a man and a woman having an association and living together. They don't get married. Now, there also many times these crimes take place. Now, the name is very important of the bill because the name also gives an indication of the philosophy underlying the bill. Okay, and it also gives an idea about what this entire bill is aimed at. So, I would like to start out with the first one, saying the freedom of choice, association, and marriage. But this will cover various types of relationships that people get to live in. Now, choice and association would also cover the larger LGBTQ issues, sexual minorities issues. I think that's also very important to keep in mind. Though we have the Supreme Court ruling, the Johar ruling that came about 3 years back, even now, same-sex marriages are not really very easily accepted by vast sections of the community. Here, caste, tribe, community does not come into play. I've also come across cases where a Shia boy marrying a Sunni girl ends up in crime. And even within the same Sunni community, Sunni boy coming from a different sect, marrying a Sunni girl from a different sect, also there is violence involved. So we need to keep all these various combinations in mind so that this bill does not get slotted as something which is only for Dalit, or in case of Dalit violence, it gets looked at the larger issue. And the larger issue is that of choice. Do we as a country recognize, acknowledge, and respect the choice that people who are considered to be adults by law make in terms of spending time together? So I would like to start out by saying, so it should be freedom of choice, association, and marriage. Okay. And in the second part of the bill, which is prohibition of crimes of honor, I would like to again make a small suggestion to be kept in mind, and prevention, protection, and prohibition of crimes in the related to choice, association, and honor bill. So when you're able to do this, we will be able to bring in a whole range of crimes associated with two people making choices about living together, whether it is formalized in the marriage or it is not formalized, but people live together, they spend decades together living. All of them should have the same type of respect. All of them should have a same type of a position in our society. Now, it is in this, I would like to take one step backward and just tell Abirami that the 2019 bill from Rajasthan, okay, also had similar bills which came in from Punjab, from Manipur, from West Bengal. All of them are pending with the President of India. The President of India has not. Now the President has changed. The earlier President, and we do not know what the current President will do, has not given permission, approval for this bill. Though it has been passed unanimous with a majority in Punjab House Assembly, it has not been approved by the President, and therefore it cannot be brought about. Now this is a stumbling block. Now I'm mentioning the stumbling block, saying that as much as we are mobilizing and campaigning to bring a new bill, we'll also have to campaign with the political parties, and there we will hit the wall of patriarchy. When you hit the wall of patriarchy, you're hitting across all type of divisions or diversities, tribe, caste, community, regional aspects. All of them will come together when it comes to patriarchy. So we will also have to keep in mind just pushing through and having a larger public discussion on this bill is not enough. We also have to put enough pressure on the political institutions so that whatever bill comes out is passed and ultimately sees the light of day. Okay. Now, so this is in terms of the first part, which is the title. Along with the title goes the preamble. Now, the preamble that is being provided here is a very good starting point. It's a very nice, it's a good enough thing in the number of issues have been put into it. But it would be much more comprehensive if we now read into this preamble the international law part relating to choice, association, and marriage. Okay, now, for example, India is not a signatory to the optional protocol to the CEDA document. India has not signed many of the more important bills which give rights to women. Now, keeping those things in mind, I think it will be very useful and necessary if the preamble part of the bill is relooked at from international law principles and international law, feminist discussions that are taking place, so that part of it is beefed up and it goes in tandem with what international law is generally accepted in the wider feminist and women's rights circles. Having said that, I would like to now look at the main provision of the draft bill in three broad sections. And now, as a practicing lawyer and also as a human rights activist, you know that there's a lot of gap between the cup and the sip. Law will say one thing, what is happening is a completely different thing altogether. One of India's greatest lawyers and human rights activists, Mr. Kanibiran, had a very interesting way of putting it. He used to say, the law defines the offense, but the state defines the offender. Now, whatever the law may say is the offense, ultimately the law has to be implemented, and it is to be implemented by the police. And only when the police act properly can that law actually be implemented for the purpose for which it was enacted. But most of the time, the police or the state which is behind it, if they decide they will not take any action on it, nothing will happen. Any amount of shouting, crying is not going to help. I had a SC/ST offense case, which I won 19 years after the custodial death of a Dalit man took place. For 19 long years, just to get the FIR registered. 19 years it took. I have enough number of cases, and there are other colleagues of mine in the Madras High Court, as also in other courts across the country. To get an FIR registered, it takes 4 to 5 years. I'm pointing this out to say that a lot depends upon the police and the administrative authorities in terms of how a particular social welfare legislation gets to be implemented. The reason I'm saying this is that we need to have a little more detailed analysis of the working of one of the best legislation that we have in the country, which is existing largely on paper, never implemented, the SC/ST Prevention of Atrocities Act. The SC/ST Prevention of Atrocities Act has phenomenally progressive ruling provisions, which no other legislation in the country has. Okay, so it is very important when we are drafting this law to look into what worked and what did not work in the 1989 POA Act to see what will happen. Now, Abirami talked about a very, very important element, which is Section 4 of the SC/ST Act, which makes it necessary on the part of the police officer and makes it a crime, makes it an offense if the police officer fails to implement the law or implement. Now, this is in technical terms called punishment for neglect of duties. Okay. Now, punishment for neglect of duties in the Kanagi Murugesan case, finally, after whatever, 23 years after the law got passed, 89, 92, 33 years after the law was passed, a very, very major case law got evolved in the Kanagi Murugesan case, where the Madras High Court convicted 2 policemen, senior policemen, a DSP level officer and inspector level officer, for not using their powers under the SC/ST Act to register a complaint, which is the nature of an honor killing and an atrocity case. Very, very few case laws and examples of precedents of Section 4 being used. But Section 4 is there. Now, Section 4 is a very, very important handle to be used. Now, law can give you a handle. The handle has to be implemented by the larger human rights movement, by the Dalit rights movement, by other social justice movements. Now, without the handle, you can imagine, with the handle, we are not able to get it implemented. Without a handle, you can't do anything. You can just keep on shouting, have enough number of meetings like this. We'll all be very happy we conducted a meeting. On the ground, it will have no influence. I would think that this bill that we are thinking about has to include a similar provision like in the POA Act of Section 4 to make it a duty on the police officer to register a complaint the moment a complaint is given. A moment a complaint indicating a crime occurring on account of choice, association, or honor and marriage is told to a particular police officer, they will have to then say why they did not register rather than why they register. Because only then will you make it possible for the law to get enacted. Secondly, this provision should also be a lot more stringent than even the POA Act contains, because now the POA Act is only a focused one on Dalit violence. You know, expanding it to include a whole range of things, which is 50% of India. 50% of Indians are women and say sexual minorities. You are going to include them. You have to really make it a lot more stringent in terms of the provision of law, which imposes a responsibility and a duty on the police officer to implement the law. Like I said, from experience, there are 3 stages. The first stage, when you go and give a complaint, what happens? The second stage is they register a complaint, they investigate the complaint, and you go to trial. Okay. Then what are the rules there? The third one is at the end of the trial, what would be the rules or principles that the trial court would look at in terms of coming to a conclusion as to whether a crime has taken place or not. Okay, this is only from the lens of the criminal law. As the other speaker had very correctly said, the law should not only include a criminal law angle. There should be other angle also, which is a social, what is now in international law called the social reparation angle. Mental trauma is a very important element of what a law should provide. And it need not be linked to a social, to a criminal law domain. It can also include the larger duty of the state to provide counseling services for people in these involved in or who are victims of many of these things, including their parents and including their relatives and other people. So the other part, which is a social rehabilitation or the social welfare angle, is the second part of this bill. I will now first talk about the first 3 parts of the criminal law part of this bill, which is that of recording or registration of the crime. 2, which will look into the investigation and what happens during the investigation. And 3, which is the conviction and the rules of evidence regarding trial. At the first stage, I already said we need to include a provision to say that it shall be incumbent upon the police officer to register the complaint, okay, and to immediately give a copy of the complaint to the victim or the victim's family. Now, SC/ST POA Act came after a lot of mobilization, campaigning, protests by the Dalit rights movement and the human rights movement in India. Okay, we don't need to keep on inventing a new wheel each time. We already have a lot of learning from the Dalit rights movement in terms of the SC/ST Act. Okay, and we can learn and incorporate many of these things. So I don't want to go more into that. No. The second part, which would be the investigation part. Now, in the investigation part, many times what happens in criminal law, once you give a complaint and the police register the complainant and the victim have no role. They get to know about what happens in the investigation only at the charge sheet stage. Okay, in between, from the time of giving the complaint, say there is a rape that's taken place or there's a murder that has taken place, investigation has to take place. Investigation is of 3 types. One, there is chemical investigation. Okay, then there's the forensic investigation has 3 types. One is chemical, one would be documentary, and the other one would be other type of forensic evidence that is available. All 3 are necessarily part of it. Now, if the victim and the victim's side do not know anything about it, okay, and they have absolutely no role, and finally when they get to know when they come to the charge sheet, and most often in these crimes, the actual perpetrators of the crime are socially powerful people. They are able to influence the police through their either money or through political contacts. And let's also keep in mind that the larger police, the larger bureaucratic mindset is a pro-patriarchy mindset. You're already fighting that wall when you go into the thing. You know what happens normally when these things take place? The policeman or the policewoman, all women police station are no different than this. They will tell, you know, why do you want to get into this troubled relationship? Now go and do what your parents are telling you. Have you thought about how much anxiety and misery your parents are going through because you're marrying out of the marriage? This is the stock answer, and I've seen this throughout India. It's nothing to do peculiar to India, to Tamil Nadu. It's to do everywhere. Now, When those things happen, you never get to know until the charge sheet, by which it is too late. You go there in the witness box and they'll put up some other people to say that these are the people who committed the crime. And you say, no, these people did not commit the crime, and they will get out. I'm handling 2-3 similar cases just now, though not in terms of caste, but in terms of related to caste, where they have put up somebody else. They got to know only at the time of charge sheet. Okay, and now you're fighting a difficult battle to ask for a complete reinvestigation of the entire case. Just to give you a reason as to why, SC/ST Act has introduced provisions in the rules. For example, Rule 4A makes it important that supervision and prosecution of the entire investigation has to keep the victim and the victim's family informed at all stages. From the time when a person is arrested and they file bail petition, a copy of the bail petition has to be given to the victim. They have to be informed that the bail petition is coming up. They have a right to oppose the bail. Now, from that stage itself, the victim can get to know who are the people who have been arrested. Have the main culprits been arrested, or somebody else, their workers or somebody else been arrested? That's a very important stage. Second, the prevention of the SC/ST Act, also in Rule 4.5, says if the victims require, if they desire, they can get a lawyer, a senior lawyer of their choice, to be appointed as a public prosecutor to defend their case. Now, this is a second very important institutional stumbling block. First block is the police. Second block is a stumbling block is a prosecutor. Many times public prosecutors come from the upper caste, not the weaker section, not the affected section. They have even temperamentally, let's not say that they are taking money. Temperamentally, they have the same institutional mindset. They tend to support the perpetrators rather than the victims. This law for change, amendment was brought about much after the law came, which says that the victim has a right to ask for a lawyer of their choice. It is not being used very properly. It's not very widespread in use, but there is a law. We need to do it. We have accessed it in Tamil Nadu. In number of cases, people have accessed this provision to demand that we want to have a choice of a lawyer who we know, who we have confidence in. Okay, so that choice is very important. That should be included in the new law. Okay, the third thing is about the choice of the investigating officer. The rules which came after prolonged discussion and debate as to why the SC/ST Act is not working came to one of the important conclusions that the police officers should be of a certain rank, a DSP level officer and higher. Okay, and they also gave a provision as to what should be the experience of the investigating officer. Okay, they should include a person who has a sense of ability and justice. Now, what sense of ability and justice? That's a word in the law. I don't know what sense of justice is, but at least it gives us a handle. Now, we need to think and ask that it be made into this law. Now, in the SC/ST Act, the difference is that it has been brought about as rules. Can we make these provisions into this new bill that we are talking about? So it is not left to the choice of the state government to put it in the rules. It becomes part of the act itself. Okay. The last part here is what I would talk about the rights of victims and witnesses. Some part of the rights to witnesses is included in the present bill, which is sort of a clone from the PUA Act. But there are a number of other things which have not been talked about in greater specific terms. One of the things that the present bill includes is the right of the victims to take use of NGOs and social workers. Okay. Again, I find from a comparison between the SC/ST POA Act rules, Act and the rules, and what has been proposed here, it's not complete. The present bill is not complete. Let's take an example from the POA Act, because nationwide the campaign that Abirami was part of and many other campaigns have brought about many changes in the law. There's no point in reinventing the wheel. Let's include some of those important provisions even here, keeping in mind we are now no longer talking about just the caste part. We are talking about tribes. We are talking about same caste group. We are talking about various other things, including religious diversities and religious differences. So that is in terms of the legal part of the thing. The last part would be in terms of the provisions regarding burden and shifting the burden of proof. That's a very technical point of view. But I would like to say that even there, we need to look at this law a little more carefully in terms of looking at what has worked and what has not worked with regard to the SC/ST POA Act. I'm talking about the SC/ST Act in great concentration, because that's the only act in the country which is progressive and which gives us many of these handles. Now look at Rights Act. Look at the PESA Act. None of these have been formed. Now we are going through 25 years of the PESA Act. The discussion is going on throughout the country. Throughout the country, it has not been used. Look at the Forest Rights Act. Not even 10% of the land that people have asked for has been given to them because there are no handles in those laws. This law, the SC/ST Act has those handles. Let us bring those handles into the into this law. So from the beginning, we make sure that we are able to we have these rights and we can demand as of rights with regard to this particular law. To end with, I would also like to then point out about some of the issues that was flagged about earlier, that the issue of suicides, the number of suicides, and how most of them, the suicides are related to caste, etc., etc. I think those are very important elements that we need to keep in mind in terms of the campaign part. But underlying all of that is to say that we need to therefore build up a broad consensus across all political movements, political parties across the country, which will override caste, which will override community, which will override tribe, and to be able to bring together progressive sections across different parts of the country to fight for to ensure that Indians, particularly women and sexual minorities, rights to choice, association, and to marriage are protected, preserved, and they are given all the protections that are available under the Constitution. Okay, there are many more technical things, but maybe I can share with the others so that I don't become boring on this subject. I will share it with others. I will stop here and say thank you. It forced me to finally read up on this bill, which I've been postponing for a very long time, and finally pushed me to reading about it and to share it with you. I hope it made sense to you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Suresh. It was thanks for a different perspective. It was a very different take. I think as a suggestion, Kathir should include a separate session with the lawyers on the draft bill, because that is where you'll know where the bill will sail or where it will exceed or whatever. Because
Shalin, if I can, Shalin, if I can just give one last word, if you don't mind.
Please.
I'm going to be stepping on all your collective toes when I'm saying this. Okay, I've been 35, 40 years in the rights movement. I went through the whole phase that we need special law. After the experience of all these special laws, we in the PUCL and the rights movement are coming back to our own position. We don't need any more special laws. Let's get our actual criminal law working. Let's include all these provisions here into the IPC and into the CRPC. It will take 20 to 25 years. See, we have to learn the practical experience in such a big country like India. Special laws, local PPs, local investigating officers, local policemen don't read. IPC, CRPC, they have to go through all the training process. Now, for example, we had something called the DK Basu commandments, which is the rights of accused people when police come to arrest them. Okay, for about 10 to 12 years, they didn't make it part of the law. In PUCL, we took it up in a big way. We said, we don't want a special law on this. Please incorporate it into the criminal procedure code. Please make it part of the ordinary law of the land. That's the only way the policeman, only way the local prosecutor, the judge, the magistrate. Let's not make the mistake that all judges everywhere across the country read everything. I really pity many magistrates across the country because they don't get books, they don't get access, even in this day of internet. So I would like to suggest that we also keep in mind, let's not throw out this idea that perhaps it's also necessary to think of incorporating many of these things in the existing general law of the land, which is the IPC and the CRPC, and not necessarily always go for a special law. Okay, I will just stop here with that.
Married to a High Court lawyer myself, I know how a lawyer dismisses my arguments every time. I come up with anything on a society, any law, they say this will not work. Practically, when you go to the court, they'll just throw it in your face. I know. So obviously, a honest feedback from a lawyer is very important. This is a very important bill, but what will be the roadblocks legally? That is something which has to be discussed on a separate session with a wider, demographic of lawyers. I feel so. And when we went to Delhi, I think there's something crucial what Mr. Suresh talked about. It should have the efficiency of the SC/ST Act, but it should cover the wider audience, because Special Act would be covering, I think, layman's terms, should be covering a wider, victims. So obviously, when we went to Delhi, we had a conversation. We actually talked about the LGBTQ or the gender minorities, so sexual minorities. That was very important because, as you said, we spoke about how a lot of suicides, you have couple suicides, 2 girls dying. In Tamil Nadu, mostly when we read, we see a lot of couple girls dying, and they say they just died, but a lot of honor or LGBTQ issue would have been behind that. So suicides on these topics has to be discussed, and this would be covered by the law. And you also spoke about freedom of choice, not just limiting to marriage, association, live-in, or whatever it is, according to the modern trend. So that is something which you said, which should be noticed. And dealing with police, how, and you also said a very important point. You have a wonderful law, it's okay. How we are going to make the politicians accept it, implement it, or how it's going to be implemented if by chance it's being passed. So that's the biggest question mark in front of us. Because we know what has happened to SC/ST laws. SC/ST Act is there. What about the implementation? We know about it, even though how efficient it is. So that's one very big challenge lies in front of Kathir and Human Rights Defenders Network. So how you're going to pass the law and implement it? That's a very big question for almost another decade. So thank you so much, Mr. Suresh. Thank you so much. And we would go ahead to our final speaker. That would be Ms. Manisha Gupte. She has been part of the women's movement in India since the mid-1970s. She has been an activist in the health and civil rights movement. She studied microbiology, sociology, PhD on the concept and practice of patriarchal honor. Wow. How it intersects with caste, sexuality, violence, and the agency of subordinated women. She co-founded MASUM, a rural women's organization, in 1987, after living in a drought-prone rural area for 5 years, and have been its co-convener since then. She has spent 1 year, 97 to 98, in the Department of International Health at the Johns Hopkins University, Baltimore, as a visiting fellow. She is actively associated with progressive organizations nationally, regionally, and internationally as an advisor, board member of or trainer, concentrating on gender, violence, sexuality, CEDAW, and ASC rights. She has participated in reproductive, sexual, and minority. He has participated in a lot of campaigns related to women's health, which involves sexual and minority rights and equality rights and violence against women. And she has worked on policy issues with the state and central governments in India over the past 3 decades. She is the managing trustee of Medico Friends Circle, a 40-year-old autonomous health professionals group in India. And she was the coordinator of the 10th International Women in Health meeting held in New Delhi in 2005. She has coordinated the process towards the preparation of the Indian Women's Health Charter. And she has co-edited a book titled Honor and Women's South Asian Perspectives. This includes 15 papers highlighting complementary feminist positions from 7 countries. I have read through some of it, and it's a wonderful thing, and I'm also a fan of Gupte. Please take your 15 minutes time to talk, ma'am. Thank you so much.
So Zindabad and Jai Bhim to everybody. And thank you, Evidence, and thank you, Prajnya, for giving me this opportunity to be on this panel with such distinguished and very, very thoughtful and passionately involved people. So thank you very much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first go on the actual bill and then go to broader issues and build on what all of you, what Shalin and Abirami and Suresh have already said. And I agree with, everything that they have said. So I'm just going to build on some of those issues again. So the first thing, let me just go point by point. This is largely for Mr. Kathir, that, if you go on chapter 2, page 3, and the third part of it, Sagotra marriages have not been mentioned here. It talks of people wanting to marry outside their caste, but it doesn't mention Sagotra marriages. Though page 4, small Roman I, refers to it later on, but in this, where you introduce it, the Sagotra is not there, so you might want to look at it. On page 4, Roman 16 and Roman 17 are repeats, whoever causes miscarriage and abortion. So those two are, so you might just want to edit those. On page 5.5, unlawful assembly, where you start with unlawful assembly. Now you actually don't have to physically assemble. See, we are all assembled here on Zoom, right? And so therefore we might need to include social media, we might need to include WhatsApp, Twitter, all kinds of things. So you don't have to physically assemble, especially COVID has taught us that we can do a lot of things online too, to the detriment of meeting people, but it's also possible to meet for good, bad, ugly reasons. So I think unlawful assembly, you might want to look at the social media and phones. On page 7, the 11 to 13, I've seen a lot of sections being covered. I didn't specifically see section 376. So obviously you've taken section 74, 375, all around. Not being a lawyer, I'm just asking this question that, rape and kidnapping, have these very specifically been covered? On page 8, 20, like custodial rape, the onus of proving, the burden of proof is on the accused. That is how after the Mathura rape case, we are using Mathura's name because everybody knows that name already. So that's why I'm using the name. So the burden of proof lies on the accused. Now, we know why the feminist movement thought of it in custodial rape. I'm a little bit uneasy about the accused having the burden of proof, because that's exactly in UAPA, that's exactly in any draconian act that the government brings in. The law that you are innocent until proven guilty. Now it's you're guilty unless proven innocent. So I'm a little bit uneasy about that. But since the feminist movement was the precedent to bring this, that, those who, and in this sense, we know the family is what happens in the family is custodial. And we know that that is the place where violence is reproduced, patriarchy is reproduced, caste is reproduced, and therefore it is within the custody. I'm just expressing something that is a little bit, that has always made me a bit uneasy, to have the burden of proof on the accused, but let it stay, it's okay. Page 11, in the mentioning, I know earlier you have said not restricting to Khap Panchayats, but Khap Panchayats get mentioned 2-3 times, Kadirji, in the bill. And so therefore, let's not just think that it's Haryana where there is bad patriarchy. Where I'm sitting in Pune, I can show you bad patriarchy within maybe 500 meters of where I live. So just in case you have a chance of, putting some words in, I know that maybe sometimes it's not possible, but it's not just the Khaps, but it's all around. It's just like we know there is nothing like casteism. Caste itself is casteism, right? And so then anyone who gets their children married within the caste is actually practicing casteism, because just by that act itself you are being casteist. So I think that is something, the whole roti beti, the business of transacting food and daughters, that itself is the definition of caste, the ritual purity. So practicing caste itself is casteism. You don't have to necessarily practice untouchability. Now I'll come to some issues surrounding, and then try to go into the broad areas. So I think we have to, and we are just 2-3 days away from the Mahaparinirvan Din of Baba Saheb, and where Baba Saheb talks about, Ambedkar talks about endogamy is caste and caste is endogamy, and therefore Abirami, Suresh, Shalin, you, all of you, Kadir, all of us have mentioned this very clearly, that we cannot separate the two. Again, what Ambedkar said was that the women are the gateway to the caste system. So whose seed goes into the vagina? And in the rising fascism in our country, the us and them politics has become so sharp that even when there is a rape, we sit and think, was the rapist ours or was the victim ours? And the whole attitude changes. If the victim or survivors ours, then the whole attitude changes. I just want to say this loud and clear, that a victim can never be theirs and a rapist can never be ours. I think we have to understand that, that a rapist can never be ours. But imagine, even when a rape has happened, if people can take that kind of a position, then imagine, when a girl is or a boy are marrying outside the wishes of the family or against the wishes of the family. So I think we have to remember Ambedkar again. Now, in a country, and I think Shalin also raised this earlier, where mere identity itself can become We are talking of the very basis of the right to choice. Abirami talked of it passionately as the right to life, that is what the right to choice, not being allowed to exercise the right to choose is an impingement on not only the right of to freedom. She talked of Article 14 of 21. It's also a violation of my very basic right to life with dignity, which is, we know, the basis of all human rights, for a life with dignity. So where identity itself can become a point to kill. For example, if I come out as a trans person, if I come out as a lesbian, I come out as, that itself can kill, that itself allows psychiatric, punishment. If that itself allows a punishment by the police, if they arrest somebody who's cruising outside, they will, for gay sex, they will do exactly that inside the police station, or insert objects inside the anus. So we know just the identity can be a killing point. So in that, then what happens when you actually exercise your choice to do something even further by saying I'm associating with somebody on the basis of this particular identity, or on the basis of the fact that I just fell in love with a person. So I think we have to go to very basic questions of identity. And I think this is largely related to a rural society where we've lived for generations together, where they call you that the carpenter's daughter-in-law, the pot maker's sister. So if that is the way that we are known through a caste identity, the only way I will have a personal identity is when I move away from that and I come into an anonymous place, like, then they say, who is Manisha? Then Manisha is a woman. Manisha is one who works there. Then Manisha is in a same-sex relationship. So the identity comes as part of our mobility from a very controlling system where nobody in the family has identity except the patriarch, and even the patriarch of a subordinated group will have only the identity of the caste, or of the religion. And the stigma, we know that the labeling also always only happens to the minority. A label is never given to the majority. Like I have a Muslim friend, or I have a Dalit friend, so I mean, the reason to mention that is that is a subjugated minority, and actually what, I'm friends with them, so therefore I'm not racist, therefore I'm not casteist, so therefore I'm not Islamophobic. So I think that is very important, and therefore community level work is very important, because Abirami mentioned the bubbly the case where they were tied to the to the cot, and they were burnt, and the whole family and the entire village was silent. The mother said, I did not give birth to anyone called bubbly. The village said there was no person like that living in the village. So they erased the person at so many different levels. They killed the person, and then they said the person wasn't even born. Can you imagine to what level the negation of the identity happened? So the silence that stays, and the caste honor, because of, this is something. Otherwise, brothers will fight each other and kill each other for land. But when it's a question of caste honor, everybody comes together. From the police to the court, they bribe everybody up the way, because now it's a question of caste honor. I have seen in my work in the village for the past 3 decades, if somebody marries outside caste, somebody will say, didn't we have an organ? Didn't we have a link? Was their organ made of gold? So there is a collective emasculation of the entire group. That did we not have that organ that put the seed inside that one's uterus? So there is this kind of collective emasculation of the entire caste, and that's the reason we find that entire villages will remain quiet. And let us accept the fact that if punishment is meted out, a lot of families condone that. See, this is what's going to happen to you. So taking away the phone, so many things that, the bill mentions that we cannot do that. These are considered absolutely good parenting. Why did you not take away your phone? Why did you let her go outside the house? Why didn't you just lock her up? Why didn't you send her to the uncle's house somewhere and get her married? So these are considered normalized, and they're not even considered crime by the family. So I think that a lot of work needs to be done with the communities. While page 9.5, monitoring and redressal action, and I think Suresh and Abirami both stressed upon this, that we need more monitoring and redress mechanisms. What when the state defaults, then what are the mechanisms? So the court is here, but many times we know that the perpetrator is the court and the police, and Suresh mentioned it in his presentation right now. Many times when in doubt, the court will give the girl to the parents' family. The misuse of POCSO. Their family will get her married at the age of 16, but even if she elopes at the age of 19, obviously they don't run away with their birth certificates. No? So as a joke, sometimes I tell, pyar ho gaya, go first to the photocopying machine, get all your because especially Hindu Muslim marriages will land up at the doorstep, our doorsteps at 2 o'clock in the morning. No birth certificate, no school leaving certificate, nothing. And so it's so easy for the families to take them back, and the police and the courts also give them back. The Special Marriage Act, how difficult that marriage act is. And therefore what happens is, many times when couples elope, they don't want to get married. They're only attracted to each other. That's all that is there. But your uncle or your auntie, my auntie, saw us talking behind the well, and that is the reason they run away within 5 times or 4 times of meeting each other. That meeting is also what? Did somebody see you coming? Were you hidden enough? That's not enough to, that's not enough. Dal roti ka, dal chawal ka bhav nahi pata chalta hai when you are meeting something like that. But the elope, now when you elope, the only way to stay together is to get married. Now, the only way to get married on that same day is a religious marriage. Now, look at how that whole line goes to religious conversion, how that whole line goes to love jihad. Yeah. But now, therefore, what we have to do is we have to simplify the Special Marriage Act and see that, people who go on a daily basis or weekly basis to see who is getting married to whom, the bans that are put up, and they actually go to the girl's family and tell the girl's family, do you know somebody is getting married there? I know, I've heard of groups that go like this, Baba Bajrangi's group, of course, in Gujarat is well known, but there are people even who are not organized who do this on a daily basis. So the simplification of the Special Marriage Act is also part of our work. Now, the increase in toxic masculinity, and I want to link it to my own PhD work and the, that Shalin mentioned in introducing me, this book that we wrote on honor and women's rights and South Asian perspectives, and my own PhD was on the concept. Let us remember that honor is not an intrinsic value as it is considered today. It's not considered that is Manisha honorable because she behaves in an honorable manner. Honor is an external quality. So if I beat my wife, I don't lose honor. But when my wife tells the women's group, I lose honor. Yeah. So that is the way that honor is. It's retributive. You rape my sister, I rape your sister. So that is the way in the way that honor is understood. Honor is violent, honor is retributive. And in rising fascism, you can understand in toxic masculinity what happens to honor. Earlier, when you saw even fights on the road rage or wherever, people first started verbally, then they said, oh, I'm going to beat you, then they would catch somebody's collar. Now you see in 5 seconds or 10 seconds, they start kicking in the ribs on the road. And it really scares you, really frightens you, because that is the escalation of violence. And all these people have families at home. And therefore, what kind of violence are they going to perpetuate when this is the kind of toxic masculinity outside? So I think this is something that we have to remember also in, when I was reading for my PhD and when I was co-editing this book, killers and, who go to jail as those who have killed in the name of honor. And Pakistani feminists, gave this slogan, there is no honor in killing, or honor a feminist use always in inverted commas, so because we know that is, and Kathir and everybody also earlier said that, like, what is honorable? It also said, what is honorable about killing? So I think, that is something, but, in many countries where men have been arrested in honor, they walk with the head of the daughter or the wife on the street, they have been treated as heroes by the wardens. As you know, I mean, there is one instance where, the man who is in prison and they don't get 5 or 10 or 15 years. They sometimes get 3 months because it was a crime in the name of honor. So it's not considered a murder, but it's just considered something that actually should have done. And, there was this one, word picture that has stayed in my mind where the warden and the jailer and the man who has come in after murdering his sister are playing chess together. Yeah, so this is the kind of treatment that, men can get because they have actually done the job that a lot of men would have wanted to do. Then violence on lower so-called lower men. We know, and this is very Manuvadi. because it is in hypogamous marriages, which is not allowed in the Manu, ideology. It has always to be hypergamous, always, anulom. You cannot have a pratilom marriage. And so therefore, if you see it's Rizwa Noor, who will be on the streets, who will be found on the railway track, when he marries the daughter of the empire of the Lux, underclothing garments. Or you will find, eyes being gouged out of Dalit boys in Yavatmal. How dare you look at our girls? Even the friends' eyes are gouged out. So we will find that, the man who comes from the subjugated, subordinated caste will have a lot of violence in the public domain. Whereas the woman from, say, in quotes, upper caste, might face discrimination in the private domain. I just want to now say a couple of points to what could be one of the risks, and therefore what is it that we would want to do. This particular act should not become a reason for communities to segregate women all over again. Yeah, because we know after posh men go down this staircase, women go down this staircase. So it shouldn't become an excuse for segregating. Especially, we might get into trouble tomorrow if you marry somebody from another caste or religion. So just don't meet anybody from another caste or religion. So I think this is something that we have to. Then what Suresh, the point that he said, which he had missed presenting, and I think it's a very important point, because the experience from other countries, when we were editing the book on, there were 7 countries, South Asians living in 7 countries, including US, Canada, UK, and South Asian countries, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, etc. And they said that we were very uneasy about the label honor crimes. Because if a white man kills a family member, it's domestic violence. If a brown man, especially an immigrant, kills somebody, it's considered a crime in the name of honor. So it can become anti-immigrant, it can become racially, it can become, a stigmatizing or a marker. And so therefore, like in Maharashtra, everybody says, oh, this didn't happen in Maharashtra. It's, the people who came from UP and Bihar have brought violence here. So any outsider, could be targeted much more than others. And the last, actually, this is a mixed point. Not mixed point, mixed emotions. That let's remember that any backlash, violence happens because agency is happening. That is what keeps my hope going. Yeah, when people ask, that are women raped outside, 12 o'clock at night? Yes, but because women are outside on the street at 12 o'clock at night. That's the reason why, I'm not saying that that's the reason it happens. I'm just saying that it shows that women are out on the street. And so therefore, crimes in the name of honor will only happen when women try to break the boundaries of honor. And I think therefore giving more agency to those who don't have agency, and giving the courage to survivors to come out of this whole family system, because we know families where 80% of rapes happen, where 80% of killings happen and beatings happen, how to come out against your own people. I think that is the kind of agency that we require. And how do we provide safety nets for women, children, and LGBTQI people? So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manisha. We always need that intersectional feminist perspective to get a deep idea of what is actually happening. I think when we were actually having this conversation, there's one important point put down by you. Freedom to associate or freedom to choice or choose. What if I do not want to associate? As you said, endogamy. What if I do not want to get married? I think that is something which should be covered under this law, because I'm not in love with anybody. I'm not in union with anybody. I'm not associated, but I don't also want to get married because my parents want me to get married to the same caste person. That is also violence on me. So that is some agency, as you said, agency. I need that agency. I think the whole, this act will cover all genders, but at the end of the day, it will come down to women or a gender non-conformative person on their agencies to associate or not to associate, to come out of that family tradition or whatever. So that is very important. So that is a crucial point. And then you said okay, law is there, and socially, how we're going to, stop it? People will not change. People did not change when SC/ST law was came into practice. People did not change, but how are we going to take it forward holistically? That is one big important question. And I think Kathir also is right now would be very restless. He'll have a lot of feedbacks to give with all the speeches he heard and the opinions given to him. So, Kathir, would you like to speak briefly on the points which they spoke about? Mute பண்ணுங்க.
Sorry, Shalin, என்ன பாயிண்ட் சொல்லுங்க.
அத இப்ப நீங்க பேசுங்க. இப்போ அவங்க 3 பேர் பேசுறது கேட்டீங்கல்ல, சோ நீங்க
மீட்டிங் வர if possible, Sundarali ma'am, I think it's all put on the all points notes. No, if you send me, definitely I will send it to our team members, included the draft also. So maybe definitely all critique and suggestions included the bill also, no issues. So maybe send the our minutes very useful as our particular DHR net. Definitely we go.
I think actually Dr. Manisha spoke about the whole emasculation of one community and toxic masculinity of another community. So that is certain things, because the bill has to be looked from a intersectional feminist point of view. That is one session you have to do again. That's one session you have to do with Abirami or the other feminists from different communities and organizations across India. You have to have a look at it from a intersectional feminist point of view. That will fine-tune it to have more a social context. It will bring it into more social and practical context. So that is very important. Yes. Thanks, Kathir, for accepting.
Yes, Shalin, it's very, very important aspect. It's first draft only is very more caste-based draft. Now we are LBGT and also including. At the same time, some gap also, I fully agree. So maybe in future, generally, it's very, definitely, I don't know, this bill I think was very radical compared with the National Law Commission bill. This bill are very vague, and Rajasthan bill also very 3-page bill, not in depth. So we will try definitely. So
a lot of people do not like Kathir in Tamil Nadu because he's bringing out ideas like this, like a separate law, a draft bill against freedom to association and things like that. Politically, he's facing a lot of repercussions, and socially also he's facing a lot of roadblocks with this. So I think he's in a turmoil with the bill. He went ahead and gave it to the chief minister, but he didn't reply back, and that is the fear the chief minister has on the bill. It's not like he didn't read the bill. He would have surely read it. He would have read the draft. But he's really scared of all the vote bank politics which is happening. And we all know who is doing, who's involved in the number of, violence against Dalits or the honor killings, the OBCs. I'm like very open. And Tamil Nadu also relies on OBC vote bank. And everybody, every state relies on OBC vote bank.
And one, I would say some important point, the intercaste marriage in Tamil Nadu is in national level, the first place intercaste. I think in Punjab is first place. More intercaste marriage happening in the state in Punjab is first. Second is West Bengal. Third in Gujarat. Actually, in the list, in last one in Tamil Nadu, actually. So Dravida model and Periyar soil is everything it says, but I am talking about real picture. The intercaste means SC versus BC or SC versus FC. Not within BC, no, this is not intercaste considered, legally not intercaste. Maybe Konar or Thevar and Thevar or this is not a legally intercaste. But it's compared with the Punjab with the first place. So So Tamil Nadu very the intercaste marriage very worst actually. I'm criticized to in Tamil Nadu very worst, not encouraging with the intercaste marriage, I think.
Yeah, and also one thing what Dr. Manisha said, it's about the kotras, sub-kotras. We have to add the point, because when the bill is going to be a national level bill, if it's a national level bill, then you have to understand the dynamics, caste dynamics of UP and Madhya Pradesh and Haryana, because they give very much importance to kotras.
Yes.
So that is something which has to be included for sure. Yes. Sorry, so we had
The bill,
yeah.
it's detailed sometimes in CAF and caste and Kata Panchayat. So everything maybe in caste Panchayat also. You know, in Dalit communities practicing caste Panchayat, Kata Panchayat. It's very, I'm very shameful. 2 days back, yesterday, 2 days in the news, in the Hindu news coverage on Ganguru Court in near Dharpuri districts. In intercaste marriage, fine in Dalit caste Panchayat in fined. So this is very shameful. So I fully agree. The casteism everywhere, not only caste industry, in within the Dalit community also is following some caste practice. This is very shame actually. So this bill is this is very important main reason.
And also about the digital means, because everything is turning online, everything is digital. So as she pointed out rightly, we have to keep that. That is one important point. So how caste is also becoming very digital, and that has to be enclosed or to be covered in this particular bill. So that point we have to. It's a very important aspect that we have to cover. So maybe we'll have more discussions on that. That's what I infer from Kathir. So we'll have more discussions on it. And I think today has been a very effective session, and we have a number of participants. And we had Kathir introduce the bill, and all three of you were like wonderful with your opinions and suggestions. So if anybody from the participants would like to ask a question to them, or anybody would like to give a suggestion or an opinion on the draft bill, please go ahead and raise your hands, and we will let you speak. We have some time left. So anybody in the
there is a question in the chat, I think.
Okay.
Dr. Shanti has asked a question, yeah.
So Dr. Shanti has asked the question: forced marriages done by RSS group if a boy and girl meet in public place, how to tackle this in this law? So I think this is something which happens on Valentine's Day, right? So when there's Valentine's Day celebration, the RSS and Hindu Munnani, they go around with the Mangal Sutra and they ask the boy to tie the boy to tie the Mangal Sutra. I think the question is about that. Yes. So how do we go to tackle that? Yes. Thanks, Dr. Shanti.
Can I come in on that for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I think it is all bark. There is no bite in it, you know. I mean, just suppose there were two people from different castes, so there were two people from different religions, would they get that marriage done? I think, you know, this is just, when we were discussing in the community, the women started laughing and they said, this is the cheapest way to get married. Just, you know, send two people in the whatever. So the marriage, you know, is just something that they say, but actually what they do is they humiliate the couple. Uthak baithak nikalna ladka, you know, so that, and the ladki ko, they'll take the boy to the police and they take the girl to the family. So they actually know which is worse. They know family is worse. They know that police will find, at least there's a possibility police will leave the boy, but they know that the family will definitely punish the girl. And so this whole infantilization of who gets taken where. So I think this was just something they said on Valentine's Day, you know, it became, but I have a feeling that they would never do that because they would not know what the caste and religion of the people are. I don't know how Suresh and Abirami and Kathir and Shalin feel about this.
Totally a right of a person to meet. It doesn't mean that they need to get married. And how can another person do all this kind of nonsense on a couple who is just meeting for some other purpose, whatever it may be? And this is, they are doing in the name of honor. That they think this is honor and you are not supposed to meet in a public place or something of that kind. So this should also get included in this act. because it is being done by a third person in the name of honor, the so-called inverted comma honor.
Yeah, more, yeah.
Dr. Shanti, this is why I was saying this bill should be of three types: of choice, association, and marriage. See, when you bring it to choice, this is an involuntary choice. Some two people meet, they don't meet necessarily with the idea of having romance or to run away with each other. They could just be friends at their meeting. And we have had this issue coming up in different parts, even in PUCL units in in UP. You had the Romeo squad there. I don't know if you all know that there's something called.
It's there in Tamil Nadu also. The thing is, when there is no law, when there is no provision in the law, it's very difficult for us to ask even the police to prevent that.
But I think this brings us to another point, because during last year also, Kathir had this case where where they were classmates. The boy saw the girl in a public place and he just went and inquired about the girl. Where are you? What are you doing? But the boy was from a Dalit colony. So the girl's relatives saw them talking to each other. They were not couples. They were never in love or anything. But they humiliated the boy. They beat up the boy with an iron wire in publicly. I think that also should come under honor crime.
That's what exactly.
That should come under honor crime. No? We see a boy talking to a girl, they beat him up without any relationship.
Yes.
That is honor crime.
Yes.
Yeah. That we have to cover in this. Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else? Thank you, Dr. Shanti. Thank you so much. Anybody else who actually want to ask? Because we have very important people here, and we can ask.
This the RSS, the Shanti ma'am already the question. No, this kind of violence. I think this is a mob violence, mob culture also. This is so including maybe is very sometimes the first list of the honor crimes. No, this is the RSS some faith fundamental group announced there. Sometimes in lover. No, this is a brother and sisters. This aspect also is including the bill actually. So already the real fact, boy and girl are in lover actually, but RS is announced in the boy brother and sisters. So the bill is against this type of activities.
We have to bring a separate bill for RSS, prevention of atrocities by RSS. Because they are a different species and the way they work. As Dr. Manisha said, even one person.
Separate bill against in mob culture and mob violence. This is a very, very important. Recently, Tamil Nadu also, this kind of incidents, many incidents happening. In last year, one honor killing incident near Karur, the mob is, I think, it's 20 to 25 persons in front of temple. Is attacked, beaten, the boy or finally died. So, see, in 11 o'clock morning, this incident, front of temple, so near in 1 kilometer near in police stations, 20 people in public in attack. It's not in North India, in Tamil Nadu.
But Kathir, you don't need a new law. You already have IPC to do it. See, my difficulty, and I thank Manisha for bringing this aspect. Every time something new happens, let's not jump around and ask for a new law. Let's get the existing law to be used. We are failing in our duty in mobilizing people to demand implementation of the law. Let's not get away from the reality. We are not doing our homework. Really what Manisha said was absolutely right. On the Mathura rape case, in fact, it's a thinking back movement for all of us in the rights movement, not just as feminists, which is that you asked for in-camera trial. They gave an in-camera trial. They brought in the fact of various other changes in the burden of proof. Immediately, they started using it earlier at that time in Tada. They used it in Pota. They used it now in UAPA. So when we are asking for a change in the burden of proof, we are playing with fire. And I cannot press it hard enough because I've been fighting it both in the courts and outside the courts, in campaigns, in discussion meetings. So in this particular thing where somebody is beaten up with wire and other violence takes place, You have the existing law. You don't need a new law to put them in. Okay, and the issues, for example, if this love jihad thing, not love jihad, the RSS type of a thing, which is the, what is that called? Valentine type of a thing. They are very careful. They will not allow Dalit boy to put a garland on a non-Dalit girl and get them married. Definitely RSS will not permit that. They don't stand for that. Manisha is coming from heartland of RSS, which is Pune. And she will know what happens there exactly in the name of this thing. So these are gimmicks and tricks that are being tried. We have to think through. And I would like to say also one thing. The human rights movement is failing right now. For example, when they are filing cases against journalists and human rights activists under 153A or under 294, that is, you have hurt our sentiment. We are not doing the reverse. We should also be filing complaints in courts, saying that the RSS or all the Hindutva or the majoritarian groups are hurting, are committing crimes. We are not doing it. When we don't hit back, I'm not talking hit back violently. I'm saying using the law, they generally get emboldened. So I would suggest, I know I'm not being very popular and I'm not going to be popular in saying this. I would say, let us be very careful when we are tinkering with the basic structure of criminal law, which has been created over, checks and balances have been created over 150 years. You do something now and you ask for a change, it will come back to us again. And we've seen this in the last 30 to 40 years.
As he said, the RSS would actually run away. They're doing this because they don't want intercaste and interfaith marriage to happen. They're threatening them so that they don't associate with each other. That's their only problem. So the whole marriage thing is a threat. It's a fake threat. They're just not going to get them married in the first place at all, because RSS is against love because it's against caste. That's it. So it's very clear. And Kathir, you have something to say?
Yes. See, in Tamil Nadu, last 27 years, I am working in the caste issue field, human rights field, particularly in honor killing. We collect the documents. Last 17 years, we handled the almost in 150 honor killing incident case only. Honor killing incident one. My personal opinion, last 20-25 years, only 6 cases only is a conviction. Most of the cases in acquittal. It's not understanding our the police and even judiciary also not in understanding is a caste issues. In Madurai bench, one of the High Court judges says, intercaste couples want come to in court, that judges advise. This is your parents are very sad. Please, you consult with your parents' opinion also. High Court judges in sometimes in separate. I would like in the mob violence. This is very worst in the recent days, particularly in North India, in the Kauf Panchayat and very worst, particularly affected in Dalit community. So one issue is honor killing. Another issue in the Kauf Panchayat and Katta Panchayat not only handle the love affair issues, any issues, many issues, the Kauf Panchayats handle the issues. This main reason is the mob violence also. The RSS very North India RSS in Tamil Nadu and most in equally in caste group also. The same power. Every village you go to in caste panchayat. But Katta Panchayat also, see, Kauf Panchayat also is transparently, openly running the everybody knows in Kauf Panchayat. But Tamil Nadu, you go to every village there in caste panchayat.
Anybody else has a question from the participant?
I just wanted to say a sentence, where we said that some, friend mentioned that we require a bill against the RSS. Remember, they're going to have 100 years in 3 years' time. Yeah, it's the longest surviving fascist organization in the entire world. And what we require is a anti-fascist movement in which the working class takes a lead, and that annihilates patriarchy and caste at the same time through an intersectional. So neither just class, no just caste, no just gender, or just heteronormativity. So cis heteronormativity and everything have to be challenged, because no group is liberated automatically because the rights of another group have been brought on the anvil. So I think really what we require is a strong anti-fascist movement in our country. It's happened internationally, and if it can happen in Iran, then we are definitely, I think, in civil liberties, we are definitely not as bad as Iran at this point. And I would really think that is what we require, and change the concept of honor as being honorable rather than.
Can you hear me? Okay, I'm not able to hear you, but yeah. So, right. So we actually have we had a very fruitful 2-hour session, and thank you, Prajnya, thank you so much, and Sudaroli Todar, thank you so much. I mean, I think I've learned a lot today again. We've been talking about the bill, and again, we've been speaking today, and literally everybody had a part to play, and we learned, and we have a lot to do with this bill. I think Kathir will have a lot of things to carry forward, and he has a political and a social dilemma along with it. He has the technicalities of the bill to be taken care, and he's burdened with it, I know for sure. But Kathir, thanks for coming up with an idea that you need a draft bill, because as no one in this country, I don't know, they thought that, women need an agency. I mean, we women, we have that thing, we have the feeling, but a man to think about that women need agency and a freedom to associate, that is a very important terminology in the first place. It will be very new when we take up the bill everywhere. It will be really new. So it's a very brave bill, and if it is made into legislation and it has been passed across the country, it will be a milestone. We actually, a lot of feedback came because they all love the bill, but they want to fine-tune it, because if it comes into place, it will be a very big milestone, and it will actually I think that will be a continuation of the, a part of a very integral part of the Hindu Code bill also, consent and bodily autonomy or whatever it is, it will be a very big thing. So thank you so much, Kathir, and